guys, it's Kanye. We're going to be posting our first video on this YouTube channel showing off this build. If you're interested in future builds, make sure to hit that subscribe and notification button. Today we're going to be showing off Gauss Sobek. This can be used for steel path or level cap runs. Let's get right into it. For shards, we're going to be running 2 to 3 ability strength shards. This is going to give us overall flat ability strength, and it's going to transfer over to our thermal transfer and our Xatas. They're not needed, they're just nice to have. For the next ones are going to be violet archon shards or the purple top forge. You're going to need at least one of these for the primary electric damage. It will transfer over to your Sobek, and it's very nice. I would say the only mandatory shard to run on this build is going to be a Tau Forge Amber. What we'll select on this is 75% effectiveness on energy orbs. This takes an energy orb and basically doubles it for us. So our energy economy is just overall better. Cool. Getting into our abilities and subsume. As you can see, if you're wondering and you have questions about why we're getting rid of kinetic plating and we're putting Xatas there, kinetic plating is not needed. There's an interaction between Redline, our fourth ability, Arcane Aegis, and the mod Fast Deflection, where once you add a certain threshold on your battery, it basically allows you to infinitely shield gate with Aegis, and you just do not die. And you should see it in the showcase right now. Only thing that can kill you is going to be a magnetic proc or a toxin proc. Getting right into the modding for Gauss, we're going to be running corrosive projection, prime sure footed. If you do not have prime sure footed, you can use handspring. It is a great alternative. Our next mod is going to be prime continuity for ability duration, blind range for ability strength, prime flow and equilibrium will be helping with our energy economy. Fast deflection is going to be a mandatory mod. Umbral intensify. Another mandatory mod is going to be thermal transfer. The way this mod works is you hit your thermal sunder once, and whatever elemental you did with that thermal sunder, it will transfer over. And say you were to do a heat thermal sunder and then a cold thermal sunder, it will combine them together and give you blast, and that blast will be transferred over to your weapon, and you'll have elemental blast damage at that point. This synergizes well with our Xatas. And for our last mod, it's going to be narrow-minded for a large amount of ability duration. As you can see over here on the left, we're maxing out ability duration and strength, and then we have negative range and efficiency. Efficiency is being helped with a lot of the stuff we're adding for this build, for just overall energy economy. For range, we're kind of just ignoring. We're not too worried about the range. Some people like to have more range for their thermal sunder stripping, but us, we're not going to be too worried about that. For our arcanes, we're going to have Arcane Aegis, kind of what we talked about earlier, and Arcane Nullifier to counteract those magnetic static effects. All right, now getting into the Sobek build, we're going to be using a cold progenitor for the modding. We'll knock out our Riven first. Is going to be a multi-shot toxin crit damage. If you have a Riven, I recommend just getting multi-shot toxin on it. If you do not have a Riven, I recommend running a 60-60 mod like toxin, barrage, just like that, and call it a day. For our next mod, it's going to be Galvanized Savvy. This is going to give us a lot of status chance and CO. Crit deceleration is going to give us 200% crit chance and a negative fire rate, but we're going to be counting that negative fire rate with magnetic strafe. Acid Shells is going to be the bread and butter of this build, allowing us to AoE nuke. Clip delegation. This is a very important mod, and it's also very, very good. This is basically going to give us a lot of status chance and multi-shot after reloading. I highly recommend to get this mod. Last time I seen it, it was going for around 100 plat. Galvanized Hell is going to give us a lot of multi-shot. For a Bane mod, I highly recommend run one because it's going to be double dipping with Xatas. Magnetic Strafe. This is going to help with taking out shields and also Overguard. It also has that fire rate on it to kind of counter crit deceleration. So it's overall just one of my favorite mods in the game. And for our Exos slot, we're going to be running Vigilante Supplies. This is a flex spot. You can run a couple different things. So you can run Galvanized Acceleration. A lot of people like to run that, but I like to run Vigilante Supplies because there's been a couple times when I've used this build and I've ran out of ammo because I'm shooting so fast. All right, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, primary frostbite for arcane. A lot of you're thinking, like really primary frostbite, and I'll explain. On cold status effect, we get a 3% critical damage and 2.25% multi-shot for 12 seconds, and it can stack up to 40%. Meaning at 40 stacks, we can get an extra 120 crit damage and an extra 90% multi-shot. The way we're going to be stacking this is going to be with our companion. A mandatory mod is going to be duplex mod on the companion, and we're also going to be using a verglass. Make sure on your verglass that you have a cold, just like baseline cold element, and you're not mixing it. Basically what this is going to do is that your duplex bond is going to create clones, and then those clones are going to be using a verglass, and it's going to be stacking it relatively fast. And then like whenever you're on rotations or you're moving throughout the map, it's going to stay stacked. We're also going to be running a couple different mods on there, but we'll get into that later. Basically the uptime of primary frostbite is almost 100% the whole time. All right, getting into our next weapon, our secondary is going to be a Prisma Angstrom. If you don't have this, it's not mandatory. It's just nice to have. You're going to be mostly on your Sobek anyways. Only time you're really pulling this out is if you're going to be wanting to use secondary outburst to kill an acolyte. But you can also have the option of killing acolyte with your ceramic dagger. But we'll still show this off. For our evolutions, we're going to be running these. The modding. This is what we're running. This is the Riven. I'm running a crit chance, crit damage multi-shot. And Arcane Outburst is I'm going to be crescendo stacking with our ceramic dagger so that we'll get all that increased damage from the combo. Getting into our next weapon will be ceramic dagger. This is kind of like a nice bread and butter too of the build. This is going to be your helping with your movement. You're already fast as Gauss, but you're even faster with this. This is also going to help with your secondary weapons damage to kill acolytes. We're going to be crescendo stacking with this, and this is going to be the evolutions. For the build for ceramic dagger, this is going to be it. For the Rivens, I highly recommend to run initial combo on them. Anything after that is bonus. But the most important thing is to have a Riven with initial combo on it. If you don't have convert lethality, I highly recommend to get it, but you could just use normal finisher damage, finishing touch, and slot it over. Getting into our Death Cube Prime build, we're going to be running a energy duplex bond synergy. This is going to help with our energy economy, and I'll explain it real quick. Death Cube drops an energy orb after assisting in 10 kills. And then the clones you get from duplex bond, those guys will be attacking stuff, and then whenever you kill the stuff that the clones killed, that goes towards the total count of assists you need for an energy generation to happen with this mod. So basically, you're just printing energy at this point. And then you run that one Archon Yellow Shard, taking our energy from a 23 to a 43, and this is going to help our overall energy economy like significantly. All right, moving on. Momentous Bond. This is just going to give us more elemental damage towards our companion and then help with recovery time. Redirection is going to be synergizing with our reinforced bond. Assault mode is standard. Vacuum is standard. Aerial bond is super important. This will be helping with the recovery time with our companion, and then it's also going to help us stack our arcane frostbite too. Reinforced bond, I was not running this in the original video or the clips in the very beginning. This is even better than what I was running. You're going to be shooting even faster. Tenacious Bond is a mandatory mod on this build. This is going to allow you to get that extra 1.2x final crit multiplier, which is like huge. And then Prime Regen. If you don't have Prime Regen, just use normal Regen. Getting into the weapon we're going to be using with our companion, it's going to be Verglass Prime. One disclaimer, you're going to have a ribbon for this. And the only thing you really need on the ribbon is going to be crit chance. Anything else that's nice, so like the status chance of fire rates, just nice. I'm not too worried about the damage to the Grineer because I'm not using this for damage. I'm using this mainly for priming and stacking. The two mods I would say you need are going to be a Ribbon with crit chance and crit delay. Another one that's going to help you stack primary frostbite significantly easier is going to be Shivering Contagion. On Corkbox status effects, 100% chance to spread that status to other enemies. Super easy, super good. And then the other thing to note about this is that make sure you're not mixing anything with the cold. We don't make sure that our cold stay separate so that we're able to stack our primary frostbite. And we're going to show primary frostbite stacking. And it's one clone. It's two clone. And it's three clone. And as you can see, the clones are over there attacking stuff. And we're also getting max primary frostbite. Alright guys, we're going to be showing off crescendo stacking now. You got a couple different options. So you can either crescendo stack knocking people down with your Void Sing and then doing a finisher kill. You can either use your one ability and knock them down. You can also use your fourth ability and it will knock them down. I don't recommend this. I don't like this. Another notable thing to talk about with crescendo stacking with Ceramic Dagger is the second evolution Gun and Blade. Once you get 100 kills, it will give you an extra 100 combo, initial combo, and you'll only need like 4 to 5 kills, I believe, to get your 12x combo. Hey, if you're still here and you're still watching the video, I appreciate you watching it to the very end. Look to subscribe and hit the notification button for future builds. Other than that, we're going to cut it short. Appreciate the support, people.